Hi, everybody. It's Sunday, August. What is today? Can't remember the date. Anyway, last couple of days I've been doodling. It started out me doodling this, and then I kind of went down like this, just kind of like doodling around. And I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting how you just kind of let yourself go sometimes. And unconsciously, it's kind of like saying my subconscious started drawing things out. And I'm, not realizing it until I'm starting to really draw it out, and I'm like, oh, a feathered pen. Yeah, I'm next to the airport. A feathered pen, and that's from Gabriel. Okay, remember in Nostradamus' image I show you, father's dressed in black with the big X, a golden X around his waist, and he's holding the pentacle, or the pentatent. I think it's the pentatent, which is the three forks, which is Lord Jesus is on a cross, the good thief, the wise thief, the grateful thief. Well, wise is like a dragon or an owl, and let's look at it as owl, because remember, this is the dragon brain going straight down. This is the right brain for our emotional brain, and this is the left brain, which is lymphatic brain that goes down to the spine like a snake for our immune system. So down here, I put the three seeds, which would be Judaism, which would be Israel from King David, Christianity, Christ, the seed, and then Islam or Muslim, but Islam. So if you look at Islam, IS is iron staff lamb, like lambda. And then you got Israel, IS for iron staff, Ra, L. So Ra, L. And then you got the three C's to go up to the giant and the beanstalk. I don't know if you remember the commercial of the Jolly Green Giant. Ho, 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 green giant. And if you look at Santa Claus, it's ho, 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 right? And he's dressed in red. And he has Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So that's, so ho, 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 green giant is while we're living on the land. Green is for chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is what, we're like a plant, we're growing. We need the sunlight. We need the sunlight, and we need to have like spinach, Popeye. Popeye is just recognizing our third eye, Pop's eye, which is our mind's eye. Okay, so you've got, then I started writing down penitent, right? The penitent. And I'm like, oh, penny in a tent. Okay, so the 11th letter in Greek is this symbol right here. Notice how it kind of looks like a tent or a teepee, or top of a house or a barn. Okay, that's the 11th letter. In the 11th letter in the periodic table is sodium. So we got penny, tent. So I started looking at it, and it's, how we have a tilt that we're supposed to give to the church and that stuff. Well, our body's the true church. Remember, like Doctor Who and the movie Avengers, and there's other ones like even I think Austin Powers showed it as well, with these phone booths that sit alone. Some of them have Doctor Who has blue phone booths, and I think in the Avengers, the bad guy had a red phone booth. And in Austin Powers, they had a red phone booth as well. So when we look at the phone booth is inside of it. It's built in right here, right in the mind. So this is why we have to go in. And then penny is Abraham Lincoln. So alphabet Ra is radiant. number 88, hay mountain. So hay mountain is we store the hay or we store the wheat up in our mind. Okay. So hay mountain, and hay is kind of like, we're scripting it as well. We're storing up our knowledge. And then Lincoln, right? Linguistic column. The linguistic is means linguistic language means understanding the Hebrew, Greek, Latin, Arabic, and then noticing that English is a reverse of Hebrew. So when we look at the symbology of knowing the different languages, even meaning the periodic table for Na, okay, so when we go, so we're offering up our senses to Father. So we're in the telephone booth that's in our mind's eye. We're offering up our go to your room, go to the top of the mountain, or go to your closet and close the door. So it's like saying, go to your mind, close your eyes, and get into meditation with God up in your temple. So that's where you put in your 10 cents, right? You put in your 2 cents. You put in the 1 cent, the copper. Copper means grounding. Copper is also the copper coiled snake, which is our DNA, which is the more knowledge we obtain or research or look at how everything's written in this world, we build up our serpent snake. Like Moses, when he took down the Pharaoh, you notice how Moses' staff, his DNA ate up the other two kind of negative priests that was working for the Pharaoh. He ate up both of their snakes. So it made his snake like giant, or his staff that he was walking around with. So penny is 1 cent, 10 is 10 cents. And then you got like the last T is for like telephone, right? And then you got copper, and the 10th letter in Hebrew is Yod. Yod means the arm of God, which is our spine going up to our mind's eye, where the hand is at. So this, if you've ever seen the bottom of your human spine, it's kind of like a rectangle, right? It's a little bit off a little bit, but it's more or less shaped like a rectangle or a base of a lamp. And remember, going up this chakra system, we have 33 vertebrae. So here's the dragon center right in the middle. So the dragon center, the notes, the keys, right? So you can kind of see where Electric Avenue is. 33 is probably like 33 steps to get to heaven. So going back over here, so you got the telephone booth. Remember John Wilkes Booth? Well, if you take the word Wilkes and change the W, flip it over, it's an M. John Wilkes Booth. John is recognized as a pituitary and pineal gland. And it's also, because that's, the John, or maybe John's down here and Peter's up here. Or maybe Peter's down here and John's up here. I haven't figured that out. Maybe Peter's down here and John's up here, up in the mind. So you got the booth. Pretty interesting. If you look at John Wilkes Booth, he's the one who shot Abraham Lincoln in the back of the head in the theater play at the top of the theater booth, right? So it's kind of interesting. So you've got with the copper Yod. So it's like a copper, it could have been the copper casing of a bullet, because bullets have copper casings. So copper, and the guy's arm reaching out, the Yod, the arm, and then booth. They were up in the top of the booth, right up here. Interesting. Okay, so our spine is actually called a C, the C spine. And that's why I call it, I think the C represents something else, but it's, I call it the Christ spine, because it's the dragon coming up, right? You got enough oil in your lamp, right? A lot of people had to come back down because they didn't have enough oil to last in their lamp. So having enough oil is, the milk and the honey. The more we learn, the more knowledge, the more we activate this arm of God within our body, the true church. And with our learning, God's hand is moving the vital hormones in our pituitary gland called the milk and the pineal gland called the honey. And they both give us, fill up or fuel our body, through rejuvenation and stuff like that. So, I wrote it right there. The temple, John Wilkes Booth, Wilkes and Milks, just in case you didn't see that. So then you take snake, like the serpent, copper, snake, the DNA, and the S is for the summoner, or the sum of the equation, which is the 18th letter in Greek, and it actually shows this symbol, an E. It's like E equals, and then Na is na, and ki, naki, and Naki, Anunnaki, is so interesting, right? And if you break it down, Nu means new, N-E-W, and then Na is sodium, and Ki is the X. So a new sodium X key. So remember in Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 5:17, a new creation has come. And then some of them say new creature. So a new creation is created. Now take that word, let's jump back here. So you got Anunnaki. So on could be on, or, something that's an or an on. And then Nu is new. Sodium is number 11 on the periodic table. Number 11, symbol in Greek, is like this rooftop or the cone, a birthday cone on top of our head, or like I pick go to. Bush has that funnel. Remember I was telling you about Daniel's grave. Daniel's grave has this big old super cone on his head, like a wizard's cone, or a dunce comb, or a birthday hat. Okay. So you got, so that's why I wrote on, which is Anu 11X, which is a new hat, possibly a new cap, lambda or llama. Okay, so moving on down here, then Pinnacle, there's a game that my grandparents always played, Pinochle, right? So you got the pin, O, key, lay. Lay is L. That's like the linguistic language, how the words can be flipped around or interchanged, stuff like that. So I took the word Corinthians and I wrote it backwards. Remember, the S is the sum of the equation, or the summoner. So it's E equals Nath, nickel, rock. Nath is like snake, nickel, rock. So when we look at there's a snake, right? It's going up our spine, and it's got the phi symbol, right? Divides our brain. So there's a brain, and a brain. 3 brains, 3 Bs. Probably the 3 brothers, perhaps. But you can clearly see how it looks like a lampstand or a lit lamp. Okay? So we'll move over here to soul. Our sun is called soul. We talk about our soul inside our body, which is so ultra lit, right? Ultralight. We're made of the ultraviolet spectrum that comes off soul, the sun. And then you got soil, because we're a plant, and our body is created out of the earth, right? So we're soil. And then if you look at sodium, which is number 11 on the periodic table, is sodium is sod. Sod is like soil. Isn't this interesting stuff? And then soil, if you take the word soil and to put the summoner, it's E equals oil. The oil is the pituitary and pineal gland of our brain, the tiger's milk and the honey. The pineal gland. So interesting. And then pineal gland, and then right here you have the pine tree, the tree of life, because it's like the spine is E pine, right? Is the sum S is the summoner of pine. Is summon the pine up. So at the end time the dragon rises up. So it's a Merkaba or chi. And remember, chi is key, and key is this symbol, and it's the 22nd letter in Greek. And there's 22 chromosomes in the male body, and the female body on their X chromosome, and it's represented by an X. Interesting stuff, right? So, and then you got the 33. So remember how this world people go, oh, it's Freemason, this is bad, and this is bad. So you got to understand what Scripture's trying to say. So this right here is the Temple Mount, the Jewish Temple Mount. So you've got a castle here, or the church. This is the rest of the church. I put these bars right here. And on the corner of the church, you've got this mount, which is actually representing Ta, the 19th letter, which represents T for tower, because it's the corner tower. And then it's the 19th letter in Hebrew is Quaf, which is like a P, represented by a P. And that's why I put over here too, the phi, because in the 21st letter is phi, PH1, PHI, which PHONE represents phone. So at the phone booth. Okay, and then we got the T and the P. The P is probably for the priest or the temple pool. I think it's pool, because the pool is where our pineal gland and pituitary area is. It's the pool of life. So you got the sun tower, which is, representing 19. Let's see, I know I'm cruising through this really, really fast. And this is like this, but it's like a tail, because the J is for Judaism. Okay, and I just heard on the radio, so El Shaddai is in the name of God, but the D symbol is these two triangles. It's like the two sisters, the two Marys, right? The two Marys are great grandmother Earth and Mother Earth. The two Marys. And we know we always talk about Earth being Mother Earth, but there's Mother Earth and Great Grandmother Earth. So it's very important that we don't get that. So there's two. So the two Earths. And remember, pyramid is backwards is D-I Mary P. P is like for tower, right? Poles. Mary, pole. And D means two atoms or double, right? Just like bi means two. So you've got, this would be the E, the summoner. Hey, the two Marys, automated intelligence, or AI, because we have the AI system right here, the dragon system within our body. If we look over here, I'll finish this. A platform at the top of a pinnacle. So you can see how the penitent, right here, pinnacle, and then pinnacle is like a pencil, right? The feather. And then we got pinnacle for the pinnacle cards, or pin nickel. And that's how they always say St. Nicholas, or Santa Claus's name was Nicholas. So it's about the nickel, right? And then over here, Corinthians backwards, you got the nickel rock. The nickel is the five senses, the dog senses. Really interesting. The pinnacle is a platform atop of the southwestern corner of the Temple Mount. The Jewish priests blow a loud horn to capture the people to worship Temple Mount. So It's probably like up in our brain, the right-hand side of our brain, right here, right southwest corner. We blow the horn right here on top. So in other words, we're telling ourselves to get into our meditation, but they're telling it on a public scale when they do it. But and they go to a place of worship. Like I said, the human body is the true church from my perspective, my opinion, because everything, we are the mere reflection of this world. And how you're going to keep your candle lit if you're, if you're doing it, if somebody else is doing it for you, in other words, and if you're not doing it yourself. It's just like those people in the Bible that went up on the rooftop with their candle lit. Being on the rooftop means up here, being up in our mind. You can see this looks like a top of a roof of a barn, right? Okay. Over here, I was listening earlier, magic. I think I talked about that a couple of days ago in a video. Do you believe in magic? Do you believe this world's a magic world? Because I was showing you on my face where there was like a couple of wizards wearing like these cone hats. And then there was my relationship with Daniel, I'm pretty sure that I was Daniel in my past life because of how I resonate with the scripture and everything. And I've even had a vision similar to Daniel's in chapter 10 on October 19, 2020. So there's so much that's happening that I just want to share. Okay, so when we look at Olivia Newton-John, so Olivia, or olive, like olive oil, right? Newton, new, and ton, I'm thinking a ton is 10, like a tin man. And then John, so it's talking about a new DNA, the new snake. Because where is that at? 10. Corinthians. Oh, where was it that I was reading? Or did I write it down? Okay. And then, so you got the 4 original language. You got Hebrew, Greek, Latin, Aramaic. Now, HG, Holy Grail. And then law, right here, 10. So law is our mind's eye, and 10 is like the Tin Man. So Olivia Newton and Newton, right? Kind of interesting. And then Aramaic, it's like the Tin Man. Air, which A is this symbol for capital, and then it looks like a fish symbol for the smaller casing letters. So it's like the fish, RAM, IC is identity card, RAM is random access memory. But if you look at the zodiac sign, Capricorn is a ram goat with a fishtail. So it's a fish, ram, identity card. It's the Capricorn. The Capricorn is the cap on top of the head. And if you look at the shape of a corn cob, or the corn, at the top of the corn is this point. It's really quite interesting. And then think of corn, you think of J, cob of corn. J is, the A is right here, and then the J for the Judaism. It's pretty cool, right? The cob. And then right here, I tried to do the phi sign coming down, and then I got thinking about our tail, which is like the Judaism. But and our mind's eye is right there, so it looks like the head of a serpent snake. It's very interesting how it drew out. And it even looks like an apple as well for our brain. So you got 1 brain, 2 brain, 3 brain. The 3 B's. 3 B's. So, okay, let's see here. So I went through that pretty fast, so you may have to go back through it. So here's Nicholas, right? Nickel, key, I law. You can even look at it at that. But anyway, I just wanted to share some pretty cool information with you. And what I did here is I did a pole shift on it. So the red is like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is up here now instead of being down here in our roots. It's like we've taken the pitchfork. You know how you can take a pitchfork on the farm, and then as you're growing, you're planting the seeds and you get all the way up the top. And now you're planted in up above the ceiling and you're planted in the ground. But you've done a pole shift because now you're not focused on growing anymore. You've already grown and you're up here waiting on the Temple Mount. So you can actually do the lambda symbol like that, where it does kind of, well, if I do it right, it kind of looks like a lamp, a lampstand, or a candle. It's pretty interesting stuff, right? Electric Avenue. Okay, have a great day, everybody. I went to the library yesterday because I wanted to get some information because I've been reading the Holy Bible, but I got thinking I want to know more about Judaism. So then I found this book. It says Einstein and the Rabbi. So the Rabbi Neon Levi shares her loving spirit and her inspirational lesson on hearing the voice of your soul. Okay, and then let's see here if I can. Here, Albert Einstein. A human being is part of the whole, called by us universe. So a human being is part of the whole, called by us a universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts, and the feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. The striving to free oneself from this delusion is the one issue of the true religion. So the striving to free oneself from this delusion is the one issue of true religion. Not to nourish it, but to try to overcome it is the way to reach the obtainable measure of peace of mind. Albert Einstein. And that's where I think even in that phrase, that verse, it's coming to a peace of mind. It's actually, when we do the work, when we draw, when we start looking at things, when we start taking the words backwards, and because remember, this is English, so it's going this way. But if we read it backwards, it reads like snake, nickel, rock. It's like looking at our own language that breaks it down, which gives it a whole nother meaning. Because if you look at this, it's like the core in thy hands, Corinthians. But a lot of people just look at it as Corinthians. They don't break the word apart and go core, like the core in thy abdomen or whatever. Because that's where our core is at, down here, where everything grows, right? Our 3 seeds, our 3 plants to get to the giant. The giant is up here on top of the rooftop. Remember, I was telling you on October 19, 2020, when I was at God's feet, how I was looking at my leg. It was actually this leg right here. And I was comparing my leg to his leg, and his leg was like giant, and it was brass. That it actually, when I say brass, it kind of looked more gold. It looked like his whole leg was gold, and he had those like those Roman striped leather slipper kind of shoes on, sandals on, I should say. It was just so cool. I remember, I think I say this every time. I wanted to touch his feet because I'm just like thinking, how cool is that? And then here I'm looking at my feet. The only thing about it is I remember the whole time is I was taking my leg right up next to his, and I'm stretching it and I'm bringing it up and everything. And then I'm like thinking, I want to touch his foot. And I'm like, he's right behind me. Oh, he can hear my thoughts, And then that's when he picked me up from behind to look at these images. But I started cracking up to myself like thinking busted, but because I look back in my vision at the things that I was doing with my leg compared to his, thinking, oh, he's giant. So another thing about when we're growing in our education and our words is that we're reaching the giant.